relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A tweet by way of IFL TV. Clarissa Shields has confirmed she will be giving away 1,000 tickets to children in Detroit and her hometown of Flint for her upcoming fight as part of her Night of 1,000 Stars initiative. A true champion. To which her old buddy Savannah Marshall responded, yeah, because no one has bought any. Is she right? Are they struggling to sell this fight? It's important to note that while the fight is happening on the DAZN platform, there's no involvement from Matchroom, no involvement from Golden Boy. This is a Dimitri Salita promotion. In case anybody's confused about that, just because it's on DAZN doesn't mean that Eddie's behind it. Or Oscar, for that matter. Savannah Marshall contends that the only reason they're giving away so many tickets to the show is because they're struggling to sell them, which in essence means they're papering the house. Just because you showed up doesn't mean you paid to be there. Now, this post from IFL TV and these comments from Savannah Marshall were made before that entire VADA fiasco with Hannah Gabriels. Hannah, who tested positive for a banned substance and as a result is unable to fight. She says that she's innocent. So does Lou DiBella. They say this has something to do with an ointment for her dog. Which is neither here nor there because the whole point is she's not going to be fighting and Marisela Cornejo is going to be taking her place. These comments were made before all of that kicked off, so I took a trip over to Ticketmaster to see what's going on. Is it true? Is there still a lot of availability because it's fight week? The fight's this upcoming Saturday, and there does still seem to be a lot, and I mean a whole lot of available seating. It is exactly as Savannah Marshall described it. They're struggling to sell this thing, and I'm not surprised because women's boxing and Clarissa Shields as a draw. She's not the draw here in America that she proved to be in the United Kingdom, but Savannah wanted a rematch. She wanted to run it back, and Boxer was willing to pay for it. Clarissa's the one who made the rematch contingent upon it happening in America, not in the United Kingdom, which in many ways is a non-starter. They don't operate transatlantically like Matchroom. They operate in the United Kingdom. That's where they're based out of. If you tell them that you want that rematch to happen in America and not over there, then guess what? What? It's not going to happen. Yeah, Savannah wants the rematch, but she's not going to fight for peanuts on the dollar to do it. You can't afford to fly her over and pay her the way she wants to be paid, the way she could be paid by her own promoter over there in the UK. Like I said, it's a non-starter. If you let your own promoter, Dimitri Salita, do the show here in the United States, well, this is what that gets you. And that's just reality. You don't have to like it. This show here in the United States don't got the same profile and drawing power that the Marshall fight had in the United Kingdom. That's what I told you. A bigger bang for your buck fight would have been running it back with Savannah in the UK and letting Boxer pay for the show. Clarissa, having won the fight, she could have asked for more money in the rematch. She instead asked for the rematch to happen in America, which in effect killed it. In truth, if it were Hannah instead of Marisela Cornejo, a short notice opponent, I don't know that these tickets would move any better. In fact, I don't think it makes a difference at all because it's not like Hannah is based out of America with a big fan base in America. She's a great fighter, very accomplished. But that doesn't make her a draw here, and that's reality. You don't have to like it. Oftentimes when the subject of Clarissa Shields is broached and we get into those unsavory subjects like her lack of knockouts or drawing power, you're going to get people on social media that want to argue with you about it. This isn't like arguing pound for pound status, which in many ways can be subject to subjectivity depending on what the criteria for the individual is. This isn't about perception. This is about reality. Those tickets aren't selling. You gonna get mad at me for saying it? You wanna argue on Twitter over an hour about it? Why don't you just buy a goddamn ticket instead? Make yourself useful. Be a more productive use of your time than arguing over why it is Clarissa's big hometown fight ain't selling. It's her prerogative, you know. After a big fight like that, I understand the desire to want to have things her way, and I get that, but it's just a matter of fact that fighting Savannah again in the UK would have made for a bigger show and a bigger payday than this. So then you ask yourself, well, if she would have got more money in the UK running it back with Savannah, then why would she want to do this? Why? Name of the game is prize fighting, ain't it? Fighters fight for the biggest prizes. If there's a bigger prize for you over there, what are you doing over here? You ask Clarissa Shields' supporters, online supporters, about that fight, and they'll tell you that she beat her from pillar to post, that she dog-walked her, and I'm just thinking to myself, if it was that easy, why wouldn't you do it again for more money? I have my suspicions. In any event, we're reaching a point where we can't discuss conclusive and objective matters of fact, like how a fight is selling without somebody's feelings getting hurt.
Facts are not subject to your feelings.
Unless those feelings compel you to show your support where it matters the most and buy a ticket.
If you didn't, don't get mad at me for pointing that out.
I'm just giving it to you straight, because it's the only way I know how to give it to you.
Perhaps poor sales might leave Clarissa Shields so inclined to return to the UK. Beyond this fight, should Savannah Marshall be successful opposite the ring, Franchon Cruz, and become the super middleweight division's undisputed champion, maybe then they run it back.
If Savannah wins. If she doesn't, Franchon stays champion.
Forget it.
You'll end up with another situation just like this one, right here stateside. That's what that means.
Talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches.
In men's heavyweight news, the latest on what's supposed to be Joshua versus Fury, Eddie Hearn says right now Joshua's plan remains the same. August fight, then Wilder in December.
As it should be. They shouldn't waste any more time on Tyson Fury.
I spoke to AJ about Fury's approach. AJ laughed and said, isn't he fighting Jay Opataya or Dempsey McKean or John Jones? I said no. They're telling us they want to fight you, but we're fighting in August and September. That's our plan, Hearn told IFL TV. I'll go through the process and see how real this is. I believe George Warren. I think they're in a really difficult spot. Tyson Fury, he wants big money fights, and AJ is the money fight for him, but no back and forth. Just we'll talk. Right now, our plan remains the same. August and Deontay Wilder in December. So we'll see what happens in Saudi Arabia this week. That's our plan. That's what we're moving forward with this week. If we can't make that fight happen, we'll 100% look at the Tyson Fury fight.
A little over a week ago, close to 2, Tyson Fury takes to social media. He gets to calling out Usyk again. Knowing Usyk is under orders to fight Daniel Dubois, and they were in the process of finalizing that fight. He knew that. He calls him out anyway.
Tyson Fury here, WBC World Heavyweight King. This is the message to Alexander Usyk and his full team. I'm sick of all this back and forward, he said, she said. Why don't we just do this? Look, why don't we fight this summer, me and you, at Wembley Stadium for the percentage you've already agreed?
Why would he fight you for 70-30 at Wembley when he stands to make substantially more fighting you later on this year in Saudi?
Make it make sense, Luke. Why would he leave that much money on the table so that you can have the upper hand, so that you can have home field advantage over the summer?
And if you want a rematch so desperately, you can have one. I don't need rematches. I don't need nothing because I'm going to cut you down like cheese.
You were perfectly okay with rematch clauses when you fought Deontay Wilder 3 times, agreed to those rematch clauses. You were perfectly okay fighting Derek Chisora 3 times, who you beat 3 times.
You're not averse to rematches.
So here's the offer. Come, let's do the fight at Wembley this summer, me and you. Forget about fighting Deontay Wilder, who I've knocked out twice, and forget about fighting Daniel Dubois, who's not on our levels. You've already beat Joshua. The only fight left is me and you for undisputed. I know you didn't fancy it the first time, so let's see if we can rekindle it and have a good fight for the fans. Let's get it on.
At the time that Tyson Fury made this call out by way of his social media, he and the entire boxing world knew that Usyk was already in the process of trying to satisfy his mandatory challenger in Daniel Dubois. The purse bid has come and gone, and Usyk's people won the purse bid, i.e., he's spoken for.
You knew that. That's why you mentioned him.
If he doesn't fight that guy, the title is forfeit, and he must then surrender it to Daniel Dubois, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to have to do that. If he did, a fight with you would no longer be an undisputed title fight. So he starts calling out Usyk about 2 weeks ago. A few days later, he starts talking about an Australian fight, an Australian showdown with Australia's Dempsey McKean, then Australia's Jay Opataya. He starts up with the Joshua talk.
This guy's all over the place.
And the whole time I'm thinking, Deontay Wilder's on board to fight in Saudi. So is Anthony Joshua. Alexander Usyk,
He's on board. He's fought there before. He'll fight there again.
making Tyson Fury the odd man out, making Tyson Fury the problematic guy.
There's a shocker.
Eddie Hearn continued, we're being told the deal with Saudi is on the verge of being closed, but we will see. We are not closing the door to a Tyson Fury fight. We are just making sure that Anthony Joshua's career goes according to plan and isn't messed around by other people.
If Tyson Fury has it his way, it would be.
All 4 of these guys stand to make a fuck ton of money in Saudi Arabia later on this year, so long as they play ball.
And what's Fury's problem?
He ain't got no dance partner. Anthony may end up fighting in August. Alexander Usyk, he may end up defending his title against Daniel Dubois in Poland.
Also this summer.
Don't really know what Wilder's going to do in the in-between time. Unless he makes a fight announcement, we have to assume he's going to sit out the majority of the year and return to action in Saudi in that Joshua fight. It's Tyson Fury that's struggling. It's Tyson Fury that's struggling because he wants to make big money every single time he gets out there, but he really can't do that without the right dance partner.
You can't just stick him in there with anybody right now and throw 20-25 million down the toilet, down the drain.
With Dillian White, he had a box office draw in the United Kingdom that has been on pay-per-view several times there, and Derek Chisora for the third time. Even Derek had some drawing power, a cult following of his own. But here and now, Tyson Fury is out of high-profile options outside of the usual suspects.
The usual guys.
So let's just be honest about something here, all right? This is nonsense. This is just fucking nonsense. And that's how Carl Froch chose to describe it. Froch wants Fury to allow promoters to do their job. I'm getting bored of his nonsense.
Fucking nonsense. You're saying you wanted Usyk to fight you in Wembley for far less money than he could make fighting you later on this year?
In Saudi. According to Bob Arum, there's far more money for the fight in Saudi than there is anywhere else in the world. So why would you expect him to leave all that on the table so you can have home field advantage?
Doesn't even make sense. It's nonsense.
There is no other way to describe it. Farrell Crotch said, I'm starting to get a little bit wound up. I'm good friends with him. I've got a lot of respect for him. What a great fighter he is. But it's getting to the point now where I'm getting bored of his nonsense, Froch said on his YouTube channel. He's now sent the contract, although Eddie Hearn has denied it, to Anthony Joshua saying, let's get the fight on. We can't just all sing to the Tyson Fury tune of, I've sent a contract. I want to fight somebody. Let's make it happen, because that's not realistic. Let the promoters do their job, let them get together, and sort it out.
That's how Fury's fans' minds operate.
What remains of them, even though he's not the cash cow of this division, he's not the division's biggest draw, that's why he's not on the Forbes list, and Anthony Joshua is. They think that as soon as Tyson Fury says jump, everybody else is supposed to say how high when you ain't got the juice.
You ain't got it like that.
And you've wasted enough people's time already. Wasted Anthony Joshua's time. Wasted Alexander Usyk's time. Usyk, who in all likelihood is going to beat Daniel Dubois, and if he does, he'll fight you later on this year in Saudi for more money than he stands to make at Wembley.
There's more money in Saudi for him, more money in Saudi for you, so why are you rushing us?
I don't think he's serious.
I think he just wanted to look like he was pushing for the Usyk fight.
When you're the one that caused it to fall apart in the first place.
1 minute you're calling out Usyk, then you're telling the Australians you're fighting Dempsey McKean, then it goes from Dempsey McKean to J.O. Pataya back to Anthony Joshua.
Enough already.
Anybody still subscribing to things Tyson Fury says needs to have their head examined.
Just like Froch says it is. We can't just all sing along to the Tyson Fury tune of, I've sent the contract.
This guy's notoriously difficult to work with.
He's the common denominator with fights falling apart. He is.
So enough already.
And finally, in men's super lightweight news, it was announced earlier today, to my surprise, the WBA has ordered Romero to defend his newly obtained WBA title against O'Hara Davies, his mandatory challenger, which was a lot more than I expected them to do.
O'Hara Davies not being with a major promotional outfit, I felt that maybe this guy doesn't have the pull. Maybe he won't have the juice to push the envelope and make things happen.
Force a fight with Rolly Romero, who disregarded him, saying no one knows who O'Hara Davies is, and what he would like to do was have a voluntary title defense against Ryan Garcia. It appears that the WBA have made that difficult for Rolly, though it doesn't necessarily guarantee a fight. Possible scenarios are step-aside money.
We don't even know the talks have started for a Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero fight, though if they haven't,
he's on the hook, and he's got to fight O'Hara Davies. O'Hara Davies, who I don't think stands to make very much from the fight in terms of his purse, perhaps just a few $100,000.
On the lower end.
For the reception that Rolly Romero gets online, in the online community, in the real world, his real metrics for his last fight, they got beat out by Yanni Beck versus Butler.
We talked about that here on the channel and how Yanni Beck versus Butler was happening at the same time as Romero versus Barroso, and it brought in more than twice as many views.
Yanni Beck Kanalai is far from a household name. yet the ratings for his fight with Stephen Butler beat out Rolly Romero's metrics for the Barroso fight.
So don't get it in your head that Rolly Romero is some kind of superstar just because Gervonta knocked him out on pay-per-view.
Don't get it in your head that Rolly Romero is dishing out life-altering purses and paydays to fighters. O'Hara Davies likely only stands to make a few $100,000 or just north of $100,000 for that title fight.
If it happens.
If they don't end up paying him to step aside. Paying him to step aside would be contingent upon Rolly fighting in a bigger fight, a much bigger fight than that fight. So big that he could afford to throw this guy a few $100,000 to go away. Go find something to do.
There's only 1 or 2 fights like that out there for Rolly. A Gervonta Davis rematch. Gervonta, who's currently under house arrest and won't return until the fall or winter months. There's that fight and the aforementioned Ryan Garcia fight.
Those fights are big enough that you can afford to throw a guy some step-aside cash because of what you stand to make in those fights.
They're big enough.
Being honest with you, I didn't think the WBA would do their job. I didn't think the WBA would put Rolly Romero on the spot, who in the eyes of many doesn't deserve to be a champion, has no business being in possession of an alphabet title. Will Rolly Romero and his team go through with this fight when they almost got beat by a 40-year-old in Barroso with 3 losses going in?
They're gonna fight this guy.
Or will they end up chucking the belt, chucking the newly obtained WBA title to pursue another fight, perhaps a bigger fight with a more familiar face?
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't think we would be here. I didn't think the WBA would do their job.
O'Hara, if by some chance can force Rolly Romero to abdicate, to vacate the title, he would likely then sign to either Matchroom or Sky. Matchroom would have options for him. They already have one champion at this weight, Regis Prograrius, and several up-and-comers, Dalton Smith, Richardson Hitchens, world title challenger Jack Catterall, who was in action this past weekend. I think he won a version of a WBA title, a lesser version of the title.
Stevie Sparks.
Matchroom has fighters. Matchroom has an investment in the men's super lightweight division, and I feel that if O'Hara Davies can force Rolly to abdicate and become this division's newly crowned WBA champion, he might go there. He might go to Matchroom.
I wasn't expecting this, and I don't know how it ends.
Al Heyman Fighters, PBC Fighters, seem to have a way with the WBA that they're putting Rolly on the spot. It's surprising.
O'Hara Davies' threats of legal action may have left the WBA so inclined to oblige him.
Here and now, I'm just not sure how this ends.